Alright guys, welcome back to another video of our talk, another episode. And in today's video I've got Max here, and he's going to be basically you know what we do over here. We have our usual conversation. So yeah, today I actually don't have a lot of things to say because it just rained and I want to finish early and sleep. So let's just get on with it. Max, what's up?
Yeah,
Everything is cool. How you doing?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm actually like happy that you are here, so let's say I'm happy. But in terms of health, I'm really
I'm also happy to be here.
So yes, you know how we do it. The first time he has to tell us about himself. Actually, not the first time. That's the first question. He has to tell us about himself, and then we have to know what's going on in his life. Okay, well that's what he wants to share and all of that. So, what's up? How? Okay, tell us a bit about yourself. I know you, but maybe you don't hear it.
Yeah. Okay, so firstly a computer engineering student, and also I'm a software developer. I usually do Android development or web development or backend development and other stuff I've also dabbled into. And yeah, I'm really into games. I like gaming a lot, action adventure games. And I like reading also. I like memes. Yeah. But I really like coding. I really spend a lot of time on it because it's nice seeing something you have in mind come to real life.
Yeah, so that's the idea of coding.
Yeah.
That's nice. So you mentioned software engineering. Actually, I've been hearing the term software engineering. What exactly does software engineering mean? Like, when you say a software engineer, what does it mean?
Okay, so a software engineer, I would say, is someone who is able to plan or design the structure for a software and implement it. Okay, so for instance, you know that there are programming languages and other tools out there which can help you to build stuff. But to be an engineer, it's not just about using tools, but it's also about structure. It's also about design. It's actually engineering based on software. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay. So basically, you have to know some programming languages to be able to do this. Is it necessary that you know a programming language before you be a software engineer?
Necessary, no, but typically, yeah. Because in your line of work, you'd eventually get to a point where you would need to program something. But I wouldn't say it's necessary. There are ways around programming. There are some frameworks, some tools which can actually help you achieve something programmed without programming anything yourself. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. So, speaking of programming languages, is there any of them that you would recommend for if the person is aiming to become a software engineer? Is there any of the programming languages that you recommend they start with, or maybe they master and they become very good at?
Okay, well, this is quite a difficult question because depending on the field you'd want to go to, there are different recommended languages. But I would say if you want to have a very good understanding of data structures and algorithms, I'd suggest using Java because there's not only a lot of documentation on it in that direction, but it's also beginner friendly in my opinion. Yeah.
Speaking of beginner friendly, a lot of people will say that Python is more beginner friendly.
Well, Python is more beginner friendly, but when it comes to data structures and algorithms, it's not as descriptive as Java is. Because in Python you have a lot of things done for you, but in Java you'd actually do some things yourself. Yeah, it gives you a better understanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you really want to understand how the thing actually works, you should go with Java. You recommend
exactly.
Java. Alright, so there is this notion that if you want to start programming, or if you basically just want to do something that has to do with a computer, you have to know math or something like that. What's your thoughts on that? Like, do you like math yourself? Some people don't like math, but they still want to program.
Yeah. Okay, personally, I like math, but math can be difficult at times depending on how you look at it. So, with reference to programming, there are some times where you would actually need math in order to, let's say, execute some function or something. Maybe I'm making a calculation. Yeah, but usually, though, there are other ways of actually doing the math in a simpler method. For instance, you want to just a basic example, you want to find the square root of a number. You can use in maths, there are series which you can use to actually give it a square root. But in programming, you can just use a square root function.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Or let me give a slightly more advanced case. If you want to draw a tree which changes based on the elements, in math, you can actually use a log function, which will help you determine the position of the elements. Yeah, so
Yeah.
implementing something like that, it becomes a bit difficult in programming if you don't understand the math behind it.
Yeah.
But as always, we are human beings. If you need help with math, you can actually go to someone who knows the math and just implement what they say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good thing. Okay, so tell us about how you actually got started in, how your journey, how you started, and then how you became software engineer as you are right now. Like anything, those basically how the journey has been. Nothing very special. No tension.
Okay. So let me see. I started coding some time ago. I started with HTML and CSS. Yeah. But okay, so personally, with everything I've learned, it's usually goal oriented. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like there are some people who learn a language because they want to learn programming. But usually, I learn because I want to do something, and I found out that that is what will help me do it. Yeah. So first, I wanted to make one of those Frave, mini clip, those kind of sites where you have a website with just games on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was, like I said earlier, I'm really into games. I wanted to make something like that for myself. So I looked into it and they were like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, some things. I had no idea what any of that was. But I googled HTML, W3 schools came up. I followed the tutorial. I managed to make a site with a game on it. Yeah.
Nice.
So at that point I felt accomplished
Yeah.
because I had managed to do what
You
my
wanted
goal
to.
was exactly. Then after that I've also moved on to I went to desktop programming because I had a computer. I wanted to know how to make applications for my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with Android programming. I had an Android phone. I wanted to make programs for
Okay,
it.
Android phone.
Yeah. So usually when I'm learning something, it's because I want to achieve something. Yeah. So and it's actually motivating
Yeah.
because if you are not if you have no goal when you get stuck you won't really have a reason to continue.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
start giving up.
exactly.
Okay, so far, it means you've not regretted like going into programming or anything of the sort.
Oh,
Yeah,
not
you
at
like it.
all. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good reason to go into programming. If you are there and then you want to start programming, don't worry, it's a really good thing to do. You will never regret it. At least so far, all the people out that have been here, they said they do not regret starting to learn, programming and all of that. So back to the topic of engineering. Would you consider engineering? Okay, no. How would you consider engineering and programming? Like, I don't even know how to ask the question. Is being an engineer equivalent to being a programmer? Like being a software engineer and then being a software developer or just programmer? Are they equivalent?
Okay, so these terms are typically used interchangeably. For instance, a software developer, a software engineer, like what's the difference? Yeah, so I would say being a software engineer, being a programmer, right? That's
Yeah.
the distinction between them. Okay, so as a programmer, you might just be using some code to implement something. Even if you're writing a script, it's still programming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a software engineer, you're not just putting scripts down or small stuff together. Actually, there's a bigger picture. Okay, we are
Okay.
trying to make some software to achieve some bigger task. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the concept of programming. Getting started. How would you recommend someone get started? Like, are there steps that you want people to follow if you don't want to get started with programming? I think the first step would be to set a goal because that's that has really
Yeah.
helped you. So
But okay, with the goal though, sometimes some people don't have a goal in mind, but they want to learn. Yeah. So in that case, I would recommend they don't just go into those videos which are just teaching you how to build something, but they should actually research because you have people who start out like, oh, I want to know how to make websites. Then they start and at a point they realize they actually enjoy the design of the websites more than the code itself. Then
Okay.
they branch into, let's say, UI and UX design. Yeah. So you may not know all the fields available immediately, but just get a nice book or a nice video and do research into it and start coding by, you could pick any language at all, something, anything at all. I won't say something simple because everything can be difficult or simple depending on how you go about it. And yeah, so when you start that way, by the time you're, let's say, midway with your first language, for instance, you would have a clear idea of maybe whether you want to do web or backend or something. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So when one last thing, actually, it's not the last thing, but I'm still going to ask you: is it true that there is a lot of stress when it comes to being a software engineer or anything that has to do with programming? Basically, there is stress inside. You have to basically be with your PC always, always make sure you code and all of that. Like, do you agree with this? They basically think of us as not having a life. Basically, staying in a room with your computer. So, what do you
Okay,
think?
well, in my opinion, being behind the computer, for instance, for a whole day is not really a bad thing.
Okay.
Okay, I actually do that on most days. Yeah, because if you're planning on programming, you should actually be capable of being behind the computer the whole day. Because there are times where you would face a problem which can keep you up from morning till evening. Yeah, so I think it's something you should actually get used to. Of course, it's not a daily thing. You won't face such problems every day.
Yeah.
But if you are capable of just sitting behind and trying to fix some bug or critical issue, I think it's actually a very good thing to be able to do.
Okay, okay. So, how is your typical day like for being a software engineer and being a computer engineer student? All of that. How is your typical day like?
Okay, so typically when I wake up, assuming I have class, I would focus on all the class aspects of the day. Then after that, I would usually, depending on how I'm feeling, if I'm really tired, then I'll maybe just watch a YouTube video on some data structure or some framework or just to learn something. But if I'm not really tired, then I would take one of my sub projects, side projects, and just like continue on it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, are you able to like integrate the whole software engineering thing with being in school? Like, is it being in school? There has to be academic works, there will be assignments, there will be homeworks, and then there will be tests that you have to prepare for. How are you able to integrate this life with the other life of doing other things on your own? Because I'm pretty sure it's not only programming that you learn in the school.
No. Okay, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Like typically, if you're programming, you should not go a day without programming. Typically, like
Mm.
it's a general rule that's out there. But when you're a student, also there are some days you could actually go without programming. Like
Yeah.
not of any fault of yours, but simply because you have a lot of academic duties to attend to. So I'd say it's more about you being able to apportion time for coding, like fixed time for coding. If not, you'd end up spending that time doing academic stuff, which is also not bad,
Yeah.
but you have to find your balancing your priorities. Yeah,
So there's a trade-off over there.
there's a trade off
If you
there.
want to focus on academic work, you end up going low on the other engineering stuff like tech stuff.
Exactly.
Well, okay, yeah, that's basically not bad, also not good. Anyway, but actually, I think all my questions for you are actually done. So, do you have anything for us? Anything, just anything for our audience?
Hmm. Okay, I'd say to anyone planning on learning programming, I would suggest you actually pick a specific area and move toward it because programming is very broad, like really, really broad. So if you have a particular area in mind, when you're looking for material to learn for that area, it would be more direct and more focused and less generic. Because when you have a lot of generic information, it gets boring.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if you, for instance, you want to go into game development, you'd know that okay, I'll maybe be using Unity or Unreal or something. So you know that when you're learning programming, you should probably learn a C type language like C sharp or C++,
yeah.
because typically that's what you'll be using in game development. Yeah, so when you have an idea of what you want to do, it will help you, it will direct you in what you should learn. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, so you said you like gaming. What's your favorite game? Like, what's the favorite game you've played so far?
Oh, this is difficult.
So it means you played a lot of games,
Oh
basically.
yeah, and I like a lot of games.
Okay, so you mentioned top three.
Top three. Okay, Mafia 3, Borderlands 3. Um, hmm, who deserves the last spot? I think I'll give the last spot to Need for Speed Payback.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've not actually played any of them, so
Oh, you should try them.
yeah, I'll definitely try them. And then just a couple of fun questions to ask. Windows, Mac OS, or Linux?
Windows.
Windows. Actually, they said I shouldn't ask why. Last time they said I shouldn't be asking why. Just ask the question. Okay, do you prefer writing in a book or typing? Like maybe your notes or anything.
If it's notes writing,
Writing is better.
yeah.
But if it has to do with reading, do you prefer reading PDFs or you prefer the actual book?
Hmm. If it's academic material, I'll prefer PDF. If it's storybook, I prefer physical book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And that actually brings us to the end of the show anyway. And yeah, thank you for coming over here. I really enjoyed the conversation we
Yeah.
had.
Welcome.
And just the usual, if I say I'll talk, you say what's up? Nah, for now, let's go talk. So guys, I thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Leave a like behind. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And if you want to contact him, I'll leave his Twitter handle or wherever he decides to be contact information. I'll leave it in the description below. And for that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. I'll talk. What's up?
What's up?